at the partnership. So with that, how about if we advance the slides on to ground ourselves first in the promise of community action. So as we embark on this conversation, we want to ground ourselves. Please join me in reciting the promise wherever you are around the country. So community action changes people's lives, embodies the spirit of hope, improves communities, and makes America a better place to live. We care about the entire community, and we are dedicated to helping people help themselves and each other. Furthering in this, we also want to take a moment to, as part of our centering, acknowledge and pay respect to the land where we are joining these sessions from, and express gratitude to the land's Indigenous people. So please take a moment, go to the link that's on your screen, and identify whose land you're hailing in from, calling in from, and go ahead and post this into the chat for us. And I'll go ahead and share where I'm calling from. So this meeting is being held on the traditional lands of the Osage, Cherokee, Shawnee, Adena, and Hopewell people. And I pay respect to the elders, both past and present, who have stewarded this land throughout the generations. Please go ahead and take a moment and post that into the chat for us so we can acknowledge and ground ourselves in that. So the goals of today's meeting, as we're moving ahead, is again really to introduce you to the TNTA, the training and technical assistance that we have available to the network, share what this team, this great TNTA team, has in store for you for fall of 2021, and just share some more opportunities for us to get involved. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to my dear friend and colleague, Amy Gindusi.
Thank you, Mary Beth. My name is Amy, and I'm the project director for the Energy Partnerships Project here at NCAP. Exciting things happening this fall in my world. Right now, we're in the beginning of Weatherization Month. So all of October, there are a number of different opportunities to tweet or post to Facebook or share weatherization success stories. And there are 2 toolkits available to help you accomplish this. Ours is at the first link, and there's also one by our friends at the National Association of State Community Service Programs, or NASCASP. And both toolkits have a lot of good templates that you can use for creating your own social media posts. From the NASCASP website, you can also access a recording of a webinar that we did explaining more about how to participate in Weatherization Month. And in the context of that webinar, we were encouraging our network to focus on hyper-local media and hyper-local relationships, because one aspect of Weatherization Month is engaging with your elected officials and your community. So we know that our community action partnerships around the country have really good relationships at the local level, and we hope that you'll leverage those to promote weatherization and promote funding for weatherization. This fall, we do have 3 energy weatherization related webinars scheduled. On October 27th, we have a gentleman from New Hampshire that's going to talk about weatherization recruitment and retention strategies. On November 10th, we have a representative from Wayne Metro Community Action Partnership in Detroit that's going to talk about funding roof repairs. And on December 22nd, we're going to have Habitat for Humanity of Omaha, Nebraska, talk about integrating home repair programming in with their weatherization program. So I hope that you will register for those. When I am done with my slide, I can go into the chat and post the registration links for some of these. They just went live today. Most importantly, throughout Weatherization Month and going forward, the Energy Partnerships Project is always looking for success stories around weatherization. So if your agency has any good stories about, particularly strategic use of funding to deliver services to a particularly difficult to serve client, or innovative partnerships that are enabling you to serve more clients. We want to hear about those. And in general, I want to hear from everybody on an individual basis. So I would encourage you to send me an email so that I can subscribe you to our newsletter, hear your story, and continue to build relationships with everyone in our network. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Lana Shope, and I lead the CARES project here at the partnership. And I want to share with you some of the tools that we have available to you to use in telling your story of your agency's response to the pandemic. And in addition, some upcoming learning opportunities that we will have available for you as well. So I want to start by sharing our COVID-19 page. And Denise, it's not letting me share my screen. Are you able to pass me the baton so that I can share my screen? There we go. Thank you very much. So I think you can now see some of the resources we have included in our resource library. We have a really nice one page about the emergency broadband benefit that just is great to use with individuals and families who come in or access information from your website or social media about how they can get some financial support in paying for their internet. We have a really nice piece on vaccinations. So I'm going to click on this, so hopefully it'll open up the links. We have 2 really good videos and some nice graphics. You'll see them on our screensavers here in the bottom corner. You can use any of these graphics that are available to help promote the importance of vaccination. I love the little Band-Aid we put on the Huggy Heart. I think that just really makes it relevant during our time of promotion for vaccination. And if you just click here, it takes you to different versions that you can download and then use at your convenience. We also have a couple of really good videos. You maybe have seen them, but I encourage you to use them using social media to help promote the importance of vaccination. We have one of young adults, which is great. And we also have one of some of our leaders throughout the national network of community action agencies that talk about why they're getting vaccinated. And you as a local nonprofit organization are a trusted entity. And if individuals and families can see that your agency is promoting vaccinations, it can be influential in them making a decision about getting vaccinated. We have a lot of materials about child tax credit. This is a wonderful new program that families can get their child tax credit on a monthly basis instead of waiting till the end of the year when they do their taxes. And the amount has been increased as well. And we just want to make sure that they know this is how they get their money. So again, using your relationship with your customers, using your social media to get the word out about here, families, is a way that you can get your money that you've earned coming back to you. I did want to touch on this visual storytelling tool, if I can get it to open here. It's just a really neat graphic that gives a visual of how our network has responded to this pandemic. We talk about the 4 different stages. There's readiness, there's rapid response, there's recovery, and there's resilience. And there are little statements, quotes, and drawings of activities and programs and services that took place during each of those 4 stages. Another great graphic that just in a moment tells our story about our response. And lastly, or well, not lastly, I also wanted to show you this benefit resource guide, which is an interactive tool where you can just click on the tax credit and it's going to take you to a whole bunch of information about the child tax credit. So it's a nice tool. Actually, if I click here, I think I can do it. Let's see what it says about. So you can get real detailed information. You can also get some graphics that aren't as detailed as that. So these are some tools that you can replicate. It's got an outreach kit. All of these are available for you to use to help families understand this benefit. And lastly, we have some story templates. We know agencies have been working so hard during these months of this pandemic. So we have put together some tools that you can use to tell your story about a wide range of topics. But if you click on this link, it's going to take you to templates that all you have to do is cut and paste. So this little 3-minute presentation tells you how to make these tools your agency's tools by putting your logo into the templates. But we have one on food distribution, and there's a one-pager that's a long story about it, but then there are also Twitter and Instagram and Facebook posts. So you can go through the whole list. There's food distribution, there's meal distribution, there's support for small business. Maybe your agency did some work with small businesses and you want to let people know that. So you can keep the intro, add your agency paragraph and picture, and send it out. Tell the world what you've been doing in your support of small businesses. We also have one on vaccines. This is the perfect time to put something out on what your agency has done regarding vaccinations. Do an email, use social media such as Facebook and Instagram. They're all here for you to help tell how your agency responded, to help families meet their basic needs and move into a place where they were safe. We have one on rental assistance, and I know lots of agencies have done rental assistance. How we had to pivot with technology, both in terms of how we served families and individuals, but also how we helped families and individuals access the internet. So you have a story to tell, and we want to make it possible for you to do that in the easiest form by just putting your logo on the information that's there and adding a story about your agency. All right, and that's the last one of those. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Maybe if I can figure out how. There we go. All right, next slide, please. So we have some webinars coming up and an opportunity to share the latest information we're learning. Through our project, we partnered with a lot of other national organizations to help produce tools and technology, or produce tools and provide technical assistance to agencies as they continue on down the path towards resiliency. And the first one has to do with, it's a resilience toolkit actually, and it's been prepared by the Nonprofit Risk Management Center. It's an 8-part series. I'm working with Melanie Herman and her team, and it's going to be fabulous. We also worked with the American Public Human Services Association. We did case studies and interviews with strong partnerships between local community action agencies and their health and human service partners. Whoops, wrong way, sorry, I apologize. We've worked with the American Public Health Association on a 6-part series that examines racism, and I think we're going to hear more about that later on in our presentation. And we work with Barbara Mooney with the Association of National Certified Roma Trainers on a special report that they did about how our agency or our network has responded to this crisis. It's full of great information based on interviews that were held with our Roma implementers and Roma trainers. In an interesting and actually very helpful, I believe, partnership with CSST Software Empower, we've been working with Paige Teagarden, and she is producing for us a data capacity assessment that your local community action agency can complete, and it gives you an idea of the next level that you can go to achieve the kind of data capacity that you want to achieve. And then she's also creating a nice tool that kind of shares the competencies of a really strong data staff person. I think both of those tools will be very helpful to the network. And we also worked with NASCASP on a best practice and lessons learned from the network as they responded to the COVID pandemic as well. A new topic that maybe people aren't as familiar with, but every 10 years after the census takes place, the states have to redistrict their legislative districts and their congressional districts. And so this is a project we are doing based off of our civic engagement work we did on the census. We will be having a webinar just to give you some basic information about how states can do fair districting so that you understand what lies ahead when it comes to redistricting. You've maybe heard the word gerrymandering, where process in establishing those legislative and congressional districts lean towards one political party or the other. And what we want to do is get the word out that constituents elect their representatives, not the representatives selecting their constituents. So it's kind of a fascinating process that our states are undertaking right now. So stay tuned for that webinar to learn a little more about the importance of this initiative. And I talked about the child tax credit earlier, but we have a webinar coming up next Friday. We're partnering with the Center for Budget and Policy Priorities, a wonderful nonpartisan national organization that does a tremendous amount of work on fair taxes. And we are going to talk about reaching out to the hardest to find taxpayers and help them get signed up to get their money through the child tax credit. They're called non-filers. So these are families that don't file income tax. If a family did file their income tax, they've probably already started getting their monthly payments for their child tax credit. But if they didn't, we need to help them go online and submit a very short application so that they can begin to receive those payments. And we only have until November 15th to get the word out to families about this possibility. So I encourage you to participate in that webinar to learn more about helping families get the dollars that they deserve. And that's it for the CARES project. Thank you.
Greetings, Community Action Network. I am Lily Seals. I am the Director of Practice Transformation. Thank you for joining us. Poverty is complex, and to meet those challenges associated with poverty for individuals, families, and communities, the National Community Action Partnership has the Learning Communities Resource Center. The Learning Communities Resource Center is funded by the United States Department of Health and Human Services, Administration for Children and Families, and Office of Community Services. The Learning Communities Resource Center, or as we say, LCRC, because it is a mouthful, is the Learning Hub within the CSPG network to support the identification, adaptation, and implementation of innovative and evidence-informed services and strategies to improve results based on individual, family, and community level outcomes for the network. We have had several different learning community groups that you all may have been a part of. We've had financial empowerment, we have had housing opportunities expansion and homeless prevention. We have had health intersections and others. And so for coming up for in the fall and in 2022, we will have an LCRC kickoff, and to let you all know about the upcoming learning community groups that we will have. But we still want to make sure that you all have the information that we have gained from the previous year. So we have lots of resources that we have curated, and we're going to share that with you now. So as we move forward, we're going to look at our health intersections. So we've had with our partner, Dr. Dana Long. She is, we had a health intersections, adversity, trauma, resilience, and early childhood convening. I will place the links in the chat for everybody, and this will be for the next few slides. But we do have a landing page for this, and this convening is really important. It focuses on adverse childhood experiences. So we talk a little bit about the science. You have an opportunity to learn about the science of ACEs. You have an opportunity to learn about the interventions, which is very important. And also there is an opportunity to learn from the system of care network. So as we look at how our health or medical professionals work with ACEs, there's also that connection to community-based organizations and making those referrals to support families as well. So that information is in the chat. So we do have a landing page with presentations and other resources for parents and for even teachers, early childhood education professionals. All of that is located on our landing page. So as we move forward, another resource that we have is our Building Resiliency Using Trauma-Informed Approaches. So we had just looking at everything that we've gone through, right? When we talk about trauma can include the loss of a loved one. It can include just so many different things. In this, in Building Resiliency Using Trauma-Informed Approaches, we look at the connections to health disparities and how we can build resiliency, because that really is, after we experience trauma, how do we come out of that? What interventions exist? How do we build resiliency to that? We did have 2 webinars. Our partner for this is Dr. Denise Shervington. So we had Becoming a Healing Organization, and we also have Creating Trauma-Informed and Resiliency Promoting Organizations. So as we move forward, we have our COVID-19 resource series. In looking at all that we've been through during the pandemic, and looking at how agencies have responded, we have a series that talks about just various things that we've all had to deal with, whether our organizations have had to work through, whether it's technology innovations in response to COVID-19, applying lessons learned from past crisis responses, and we're still going through COVID-19 and how that is impacting us. So this series is also available on our website, and that link is also in the chat. So as we move forward, coming out of the Learning Communities Resource Center, one key innovation is whole family approach. And whole family approach really is about building families, well-being, being intentional, and simultaneous working with children and the adults in their lives. So we have, as we move, I think we're going to move forward 2 slides to the Whole Family Approach Institute. And so we had a peer learning event where we have a host of resources, presentations from agencies that have implemented whole family approach, and there's a thing called whole family approach building blocks. So as you look at building or implementing or even just learning about whole family approach, how do you move in that direction? So looking at those building blocks, those pieces that you have to put that puzzle piece together in order to have intentional services to families, you will see that broken out in the Whole Family Approach Institute. So you will hear from agencies that have implemented those building blocks. You will hear from experts. It is centered certainly in equity. So we have experts in equity, our whole family approach concepts, and trauma-informed approaches. Because when we talk about whole family approach, it is centered in equity, and it is definitely trauma-informed. So all of those resources are on the whole family approach landing page as well. Our next resource for whole family approach are our design briefs. I'm very excited about our design briefs. We now have these available in Spanish. We also have our COVID-19 resource series available in Spanish as well. So expect to see all of that information soon. And this series is really exciting, and it really shows the magic of when agencies really do that intentional work and highlighting and implementing the whole family approach innovation. It just shows their full journey. So if you're interested in whole family approach, or you're like, well, my agency looks like this, and I've heard from another agency that may be larger or smaller, you really have an opportunity to just have a snapshot of different agencies, and it will tell you, the demographics. It talks about the challenges, the successes. There are success stories, and really their entire approach of how they implemented whole family approach. And so if you have questions or if you want to learn more, it is definitely an opportunity to just have that snapshot and have a resource to see an organization that may look like yours. For the upcoming year, we anticipate having additional agencies come online. So we'll have more whole family approach design briefs as a resource to the network. And as we move forward, so a key piece of whole family approach is family-centered coaching. So on Community Action Academy, which is free for everyone to sign up, just to make sure everyone is aware of that, this is free. We do have 2 e-courses. One is the Advancing Family-Centered Coaching 101. It's the introduction course. And we also have the Advancing Family-Centered Coaching 201 course. So we encourage everyone to sign up in Community Action Academy. Again, if you're interested in learning more about whole family approach, or if you say, well, I think I know enough, I'm ready to get started, it's really important to check out these courses, to go through these courses. And any and everyone in your agency can take these courses just to learn more and to center yourselves in the concepts to have a successful implementation of whole family approach. And with that, I will, we have equity resources. So we have our equity resources, and we had back in April our equity summit, which was just an amazing event. And from that, we have our equity summit report and toolkit that really gives you a live and action review of everything that occurred during the Equity Summit. So we had racial healing circles, we had magnificent speakers, and just really centering in equity in the broad sense, right? Equity, so whether racial equity, gender equity, we had a host of wonderful presentations. So we have our landing page for the Equity Summit, but we also have this report and resource guide. We have a ton of resources on equity on various topics, also included in this report. And we can move forward. Racism is a public health crisis. This is our resource guide. So the National Community Action Partnership did declare racism as a public health crisis. We invite local agencies to also do that, and state associations. So this resource guide was also developed so that everyone could have access and understand. If you are interested in declaring racism as a public health crisis, you have a guide for that. And our next slide. All right, so Advancing Equity webinar series and discussion guide. In Lana, I believe Lana may have touched on this, but we have an Advancing Equity webinar series. This is in partnership with the American Public Health Association. So we have a webinar series. Again, that is also accessible via Community Action Agency. And you can see here what the individual webinars are. So racism and health equity, racial healing for ourselves, our communities, and our future, housing as a human right. So really looking at how are we advancing, equity. And we also have a discussion guide. So you're able to, again, kind of go through the webinar series and have a guide where you can take notes, you can access different resources. It's a wonderful webinar series for everyone to partake in, as well as the discussion guide. And I will now hand this over to Aaron.
All right, thank you, Lily. My name's Aaron Wicks. I'm the Vice President for Organizational Capacity Building here at the National Community Action Partnership. And I just want to pause for a second and acknowledge the amazing work that is done every day across our network. Just about all of the resources that Amy, Lana, and Lily have talked about are really just gathering the exemplary practices from all across our network. So a shout out to Community Action for setting the example for our country, and we here at the partnership have the great honor of learning about what everyone's doing and then finding opportunities like this to share it. So the last part of our webinar today is focusing on some of the broader training and technical assistance resources that we have at the partnership. And one of those resources that we've recently updated is the CSBG TNTA Resource Center. If you go to csbgtta.org, you can access this resource center. I will let everyone know that this is a very new resource that we've just developed. It's evolving. You can think of it in version 1.0. So we would definitely love for you to go there, check it out, and let us know what you think. Currently, we are moving towards this being kind of a one-stop shop for TNTA that's specifically related to CSBG. So you can look at training resources and tools that focus on organizational capacity building, things that you would do to strengthen your agency, anti-poverty practices, many of those learnings that we've familiarized ourselves with through the learning communities and through other interactions with the network. State administration and efficiency, so resources for administering the CSBG grant, as well as, understanding some of the processes that are required both at the federal and state level. And then data collection and analysis, because data is so critical to all the work that we do, and being able to show how CSBG leverages all these other resources. Data is really our most important tool in doing that. So you can look for resources by those broad categories, and then search with a more fine-tuned search functionality for topics that you're particularly interested in, maybe community assessment, strategic planning, whole family approach, you name it. The search functionality should take you to resources that are more closely aligned with what it is that you're looking for. And we've also organized them by content area, because sometimes you just kind of want to browse. What are the e-courses that are currently available? What are some of the webinars that have been recorded and are now available? Maybe I've got a board training coming up next month, and I'm not sure what topic I want to train them on. So let me just see what's available. We think that this is a good resource for just kind of browsing the bookshelf and seeing what's there. So again, it's csbgtta.org. It's in version 1.0, so please let us know what you think, what resources we can add, what functionality you'd like to see, because we'd really like that to be at least one central place that folks can go to access many of the resources for our network. All right, next slide. Or I can talk. Thank you. So there are two more topics that we want to share with you. These are programs of the National Community Action Partnership, and I know you're definitely familiar with the CCAP program, which we'll talk about in a moment. You may be less familiar with the Pathways to Excellence program, because it's sort of been on hiatus during the COVID pandemic. We made that decision over a year ago to really focus on the more urgent needs of the network. But we all know that that strong, resilient agencies are going to have to be prepared for the next natural disaster, the next pandemic, the next stressor on our communities or our networks. And so it is important for us to relaunch the Pathways to Excellence program so that we can support those agencies that are really looking to move forward and put themselves on a path towards ongoing strength and resilience. So we're very excited to announce that we've retooled the program. This is the program that started way back with the Award for Excellence. The award is still there, and we're hoping that we'll be able to recognize an award winner next year. So the Award for Excellence is still part of the program, but we've also broadened the program to include more entry points. So if your agency maybe isn't ready to go for the Award for Excellence, you just want to sort of dip your toe in the water a little bit and build up your staff and board's knowledge of what it would mean to become an agency of excellence, then we've got a pathway for you. So save the date. We're going to be having a more detailed presentation on the new Pathways program on November 3rd at 2 p.m. Eastern time. So we'll have a lot more information about the details of the program, the costs, et cetera. And we will be beginning to take registration in the new different levels of participation in the program starting in November. So if you want a sneak peek, because you just can't wait for November 3rd, and that's the day, I think that's the day after Election Day. So be sure to vote the day before, and then join us for the kickoff on November 3rd as a way to look forward. But if you can't wait until then, you can get a little preview of the program at our website, communityactionpartnership.com/pathways to excellence. And if you know that you're your agency is already interested in considering engaging in this program, we do have an interest form, and there's a link here. It's a SurveyMonkey survey, but very short survey to collect your contact information. Let us know if you're interested. What we will do is make sure that every new announcement that we have about the Pathways program will go straight to your inbox so that you can know what's coming, and we can work with you to help get your agency participating in the program. So we're very excited about this. We think this is a good time for our network to look to the future and really model for all of our communities what community action is, and the resilience, the strength, the ability to pivot that we have, precisely because we have agencies of excellence all over the country, strong agencies that are prepared to act as first responders and to walk with families and community members through whatever challenges we may encounter. And I think at this point, we will hand it back to Mary Beth, who will remind you a little bit about our CCAP program, because enrollment is happening now.
Thanks, Aaron. Yeah, and that's really the major takeaway for today on CCAP, is that this is really the moment to be thinking about who on your staff is next in line to get their CCAP. You know, as a reminder, CCAP is, you know, our national peer review based recognition of community action managers and leaders. It's a big deal. And if you're not a CCAP now, we hope you'll think about joining us and becoming a CCAP. Our website has lots of great information for you about the process. I know it can feel a little daunting at first, but I assure you the process is, it can be career changing. So we hope that you will look into it. Right now, study groups are getting formed. If you are looking for a study group, if you'd like to talk with someone about your journey, about your CCAP journey, please reach out to Mitzi Hubbard on our team. She is our CCAP program administrator, and we'll be happy to help support you, get you connected to those mentors and to the study groups. Also, as a reminder, you know, there are discounts as you enroll more CCAPs in the certification process. We do give discounts, so you know, make sure that you go to our website and check those out and consider joining us and becoming a CCAP. So moving ahead, we just want to say, you know, I know we've thrown a lot of information at you, but we also want to say stay tuned, because there is so much more. There are more great resources and opportunities coming from all of the programs you heard here and some you didn't hear from yet today. We have lots more coming this fall and early next year. So there's a couple of ways that you guys can stay tuned and stay engaged. On the next slide is a reminder of Webinar Wednesday. Please be sure that you hold your calendar at 2 p.m. on Wednesdays to join us for a number of webinars that we have coming up. The ones that are confirmed are here on the slide. But in addition to these, you know, we will share out other topics as they are confirmed. And actually, before I talk about another way to stay informed, I do want to flag, if you'll go to the next slide, that another opportunity for you to engage with us this fall, or this next early winter is what I mean to say, is MLTC, the Management and Leadership Training Conference. It will be virtual. It will be held virtually, so please save the date. We're going to be holding the conference February 2nd through the 4th of 2022. And so if you want to stay connected to us and kind of know what's going on at the partnership and stay abreast of all of these developments, one of the best ways you can do that is to subscribe to our e-news on the next slide. If you are not subscribed, you're not getting our our emails, please go to our website and subscribe. As I said, this is the best way to stay connected, be informed of what's happening at the national level, and all of these great tools and resources that all of us collectively are putting out. So with that, we're actually coming to the end of our time together of the material that we had prepared for you. I want to take this moment to say we have a fantastic team at the partnership, and all of us stand ready to support you at the local and state levels. Feel free to reach out to any of us. Here's all of our contact information. And we would love to hear from you. Anything you need. Send us feedback, send us questions, just send us a friendly hello. We like those too. We'd love to hear from you. I'm going to pause here and ask Denise, did we get any questions in the chat, or do folks have any questions for the team?
I haven't seen any questions yet in the chat.
Okay. TNTA team, anything you want to add before we close?
Just a big thank you for all the work you're doing, given where we're at in the pandemic and the reality that we're still struggling through. But thank you all. I know you're working hard and it is making a difference. So just express our appreciation.
And I did see, Mary Beth, I did see a question about the conference registration and when that will be opening. We have not yet opened registration, but that will be coming fairly soon. I would say look for it probably before the end of this month. We'll have that information out with the cost for registration this year.
Okay, well then on that note, as Lana said, we have, and Lily said in the chat, thank you to all of you. We appreciate you. Keep doing the rock star job that you all have been doing. So thank you, and have a great rest of your day.